I'm just excited to talk about Grand Archive.
Yeah, me too. It's actually been a while. So how's it going, everyone? And welcome to another Grand Archive video here on Red Zone Rogue. My name is Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue, and I'm joined today by none other than Dan from Main Deck. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey everyone, I am doing wonderful. I'm so excited to have a functional computer again and get to make content. And we've been delving so much into GA towards the end of the year and going forward in the year that this is just, I mean, I'm ready. I just want to chat. I'm so pumped.
Yeah, so basically the format of today's video is going to be pretty loose, as you can kind of see here. Very minimal editing. It's just going to be Dan and I discussing kind of what we want to see in Grand Archive in 2025. It's, the start of the new year. Dan and I are both pretty big fans of the game, and pretty involved in various ways. We've both done casting for the game. We both make YouTube videos about it and all that kind of good stuff. And Dan even has a very successful competitive team too. Like, your team has been like absolutely destroying recently. I haven't made a video about it yet because it's been like 2 months, but didn't your team do very well recently?
Yeah, the team is doing pretty well. We have different stats that we like to talk about it with. Some more humorous, I guess, than others. But given that at Worlds, we technically had 3 Ascent winners crowned during that, we have the most Ascent winners of any team. Technically, but it doesn't really count.
Throwing shade at True Champion.
Yeah, no. Let me be clear. Also, by the way, we have a great relationship with True Champion Game. Yeah. They're incredible, top-notch guys, and we love to joke around about it. But they have more actual, like, distinct Ascent wins than we do. But we're creeping up. We're number 2, I believe. So and that is, I mean, that's not been me. To be clear, by the way, I get called Coach Dan on the team. A lot of coaching, a lot of close to close placements, I guess, but not quite making it into a top cut yet for me. But Main Deck Mitch, multiple top cuts now, multiple victories. Main Deck Taylor has a victory and multiple really close day 2s. So yeah, and we have a bunch of, like, we actually have a really big team. I can actually say, I think I can say this now too. A lot of players who are involved in the game might know Steve-O, who is one of the Worlds competitors last year. He is officially on the Main Deck team now as well.
Oh, so nice.
We actually have a Worlds competitor on the team too, which is great. He just needs to top an actual Ascent. He hasn't done that yet.
Yeah, man, you got to catch up.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. We got to tell him that.
Yeah, exactly. I think you have what, this is off topic already. I think you have what, when I used to work with Channel Fireball doing casting and coverage for Flesh and Blood, they said that I had what they called LSV privilege, and that is playing in the event, scrubbing out, and then doing casting for either the rest of the day or day 2. And I think you are in the similar boat, because I do distinctly remember something similar happening at Nationals last year, I think, right?
It was Singapore was where I did that.
Okay.
Nationals I was playing in day 2, actually. I was sweating really hard.
Yes, I remember, yes.
Yeah. I made it into day 2 on Erupting, and first round of day 2 was against True Champion Isaac, of course, and we had the epic match where I just could not, for the life of me, find, I can't remember if it was either an Ember Song or an Erupting. It was one half of the combo, and I dug so deep to the point where I had to cheat. And not intentionally, but I had to cheat and play a Resolute stand for free while I was at level 1, which is not legal. You have to be at level 2 to do that. To try and stay alive. But it was still like a few cards down when I got ended anyway. It didn't end up mattering, but yeah, that was our stream game, and it was an epic struggle. And then after that, I was just kind of like, well, okay, I'm kind of out now, and we're just, I played the rest of the day, but. Singapore, I had the LSV privilege for sure, and that was a lot of fun, but I prefer to day 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone would, but it's a nice consolation. I guess we can start off then just talking about, like I said, the idea of the video is just we're going to be talking about what we are looking forward to in Grand Archive. So we can just talk about, I guess, the organized play side of things, since we're already kind of like talking about that. I mean, they kind of have, I mean, not kind of, they've already laid out what the roadmap is for 2025, and it looks pretty robust, right? Or is it just like a chunk of 2025? Is it not the whole year? I don't remember exactly. I'll have to find the image.
So they have laid out the roadmap for the year, but certain months they don't have details. They're shrouded in mystery. The fog of war is there.
Right.
So they have things like there is a Midwest US, I believe that's what it was, Ascent in August. And I'm over here like hoping it's at Gen Con because that's a yearly trip we make, and that will make it super easy because I think you can count Indianapolis and Midwest. It's on the edge. I don't know which way it goes, but maybe. But yeah, they have the only one that later in the year they have locked in is Akihabara in November.
Oh my god, dude. All right. So, yes. Yes. Yes, as someone who last year, 2024, I was able to go to Japan twice. One of them was casting in Akihabara for Shadowverse Evolve. I can't tell you how much I want to go to the Grand Archive one in Akihabara again. Akihabara is great. I already have plans to go to Japan this year, and it would be nice. It would be cool to be able to go twice. So
go twice.
Yeah, I very much would like to attend that, and I imagine most folks listening to this video also would like to attend that.
Look, you're playing the Weebs of the Shore card game, right? Like, you gotta like Japan in some way. You gotta be interested in going.
Literally, one of the times I was in Tokyo, I met up with Roger or Sitsakris, one of the Grand Archive like devs, and we like hung out and we went to the Final Fantasy Cafe. We just walked around and went to like the Kotobukiya, just chatted about stuff. But so I already have some like personal familiarity with like Grand Archive and Akihabara, so it'd be awesome to see it kind of coalesce there. And actually, you know what, this is a good little tangent. I've noticed on social media, because I'm very involved with a lot of Japanese TCGs, there are a good number of folks from Japan, either individuals, companies, or card stores who follow me on social media. And I've noticed a handful of them are just organically picking up Grand Archive and posting about it. Some of them are stores, specifically some stores in Tokyo. And I just think it's really cool to post like, oh, here's, our locals, here's the product that we got. And, as we look into 2025, I think that's awesome. And I'd love to see more and more involvement overseas, not just Japan, but we are talking specifically about Japan right now, for Grand Archive, and seeing the organic growth is super cool.
I've seen that as well. And obviously, we're going to be talking about the new year, but in the past year, we saw like basically the rise of Taiwan, as well as like a huge hub for Grand Archive. Just generally the Southeast Asian area.
Like Singapore too, yeah.
Had the pleasure of going to Ascent Singapore and meeting with tons of the fans of the game from that region. They're very serious. They're very, very big on the game. And that was like really, really fun. Apex Players Guild, I can shout them out quick because that's a huge like GA hub in Singapore as well. So it's really cool to see. That's definitely an area where I hope just like the general presence of the game surrounding Japan is maybe starting to kind of put the pressure on and broach into the country a little bit more, because obviously it's got the right aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
You just need to find get the player base built up there, get them interested.
Yeah, I mean, I really feel like like Akihabara, Japan, just in general, but like Akihabara, maybe even like areas like Osaka are like these TCG hubs, and there's so many passionate players. Like for any of the folks out there who attend Ascent Akihabara this year, definitely try to go out and go check out some of the Japanese card stores. There are there's a ton of them in Akihabara. There's multiple stores in buildings just stacked on top of each other, and it's such a different vibe than here in the West, because when you walk into a game store here in the West, and I've been to many, and I'm sure a lot of folks out there have also been to many LGSs, you walk in and there's like maybe one or two people at the counter, and maybe they say hi to you, maybe they don't. Maybe there's like someone looking at the board games, someone looking at the Pokemon cards or whatever, and then like that's it. Maybe there's some people playing some games, maybe D&D or Magic or something. When you walk into a game store in Japan, they have tons and tons of people in my experience, at least in Akihabara. It is packed to the gills, and specifically like Dragon Star at the top of, it's one of the big buildings in Akihabara, not Radio Kaikon, but a different one, sort of nearby. But it was just like packed, and there was like 8 or 9 employees behind the counter just running around getting people card orders, and it was just insane. I've never seen TCGs like that. It was like, yeah, it was like it's a really big important thing. I don't know. It was super cool. And also I noticed they don't carry a lot of sealed product. They have a little bit, but not as much as the West. Very much not as much. And they really specialize in singles, and to the point where most of the store's space is taken up by just aisles of singles, like those walls that just have singles. Okay. And then you'll like, here's the Pokemon section, here's like the, I don't know, the Battle Spirit section, here's Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever. And yeah, it's pretty different actually. That is very common, seeing the giant walls of singles taking up most of the space. Anyway,
I've heard it's a different experience there, so I'm really looking forward to it. I can say that as soon as Ascent Akihabara was announced, the entire main deck competitive Discord, our little separate one for the team, was like, yep, gonna make that happen. My wife's coming, my girlfriend's coming, whatever. So I expect there will be very few of the main deck team members who are not going to be at Akihabara. It's kind of become the destination where everyone was kind of able to convince their significant other, okay, let's take a trip. You know, you know how we've been putting off that honeymoon. Let's go to Ascent.
I do know like Silidar and maybe some of the other devs, but they were posting on social media like, hey, if you could go anywhere for an Ascent, where would you want to go? And I saw the comments, and overwhelmingly the replies were Japan, from both players and other folks. I think I remember like Han also said Japan. Like a bunch of people commented Japan. So when I saw that pop up, I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
That does make sense.
That tracks. So that's pretty cool. So there's like some pretty exciting like organized play to look forward to this year. And I think Grand Archive is doing a really good job of that. I think they're one of the, I don't want to say one of the few indie TCGs, but they're one of the ones that are doing a good job of like being consistent with their organized play and having like regularly scheduled ascents with like prizing that matters, you know, combination of cash prizing and like card prizing and even some other crazy stuff like Worlds. They have the ring and other stuff. So I think, you know, looking into this year, I don't know if I don't know if I'd ask them to make any changes. I'm usually on the other side of things. I'm usually on the broadcast side, not the player side. So I can't attest to like changes that they should make from the player's perspective. But from my perspective, I think they've been doing a fantastic job.
I think at the for sure at the like the Weaves the Shore organization level and everything, that consistency you mentioned is just so massive. You know, being involved in a bunch of other TCGs, it's very, very hit or miss sometimes as to whether or not you even can halfway predict what's going to happen halfway, you know, like a few months from now to 6 months from now, let alone knowing like, okay, there's an Ascent in Japan in November and I'm going to plan accordingly for that. I'm going to budget things, whatever. And then, yeah, like knowing what you're going to get into at each event, what the prizing is going to be like. And to be fair, some of the games I cover a little more closely are rather new and still kind of figuring that out, I guess. But I do want to just like props to GA, because GA in the same time frame that some of these newer card games have had, GA already ran Ascent Houston, already began the full structure leading into nationals, everything like that, and I think they've been on the ball basically since the start. And it's really great to see now they're expanding. We have an Ascent in Europe this year, which is actually, I don't know when you're posting this, but I will be in Europe very soon as of recording this.
When is the event happening? What day?
The 25th is the first day of Ascent Utrecht.
I plan on uploading this on the 10th, so
Oh, okay, great. Well, excellent. Yes, we will be leaving in less than a week then.
Nice.
For a long trip in Europe where we're going to hit up a couple GA events.
Very cool.
And yeah, that's the first time they've had an Ascent 2, which is really great because the Europe players. It's one thing that like I don't know if we're going to get to like room for improvement section or whatever.
Oh, for sure. You can kind of pepper that in anywhere you want, okay. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we just want to see is that they have this wonderful structure, they have this consistency, they have this prizing that's just like top of its class as far as getting things you want and feeling rewarded monetarily at the same time. That's all great, but we have regions that are struggling a little bit too.
I agree.
Europe is the big one, I think, where from maybe I never know what's true or what's not, but they're distributors who I think people are not a fan of, and I just don't know what's going on, and we'll see. I'm really hoping Ascent Utrecht goes well, though.
Europe is always a really interesting thing because I cover so many different card games on the channel. I focus on a handful, but a common thread that I've seen among almost every indie TCG that I cover that's not based out of Europe, so basically that's not Asmodee or Altered or anything like that,
yes,
is that they all have trouble with Europe distro across the board. Even the bigger name titles or bigger name companies like Bushiroad and even Bandai sometimes can have trouble with distro in Europe. I don't know the exact reasons, but it feels like a very consistent thing among a lot of games that aren't like Magic and Pokemon. The big three games. So the fact that Grand Archive is doing that, and we have some a big event. Hopefully, like distro gets better. I do, like I said, I do see this a lot, especially in regards to sealed product. Is one of the things I see a lot. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but like I really love the Recollection decks. I reviewed them as my #1 product of 2024 across all TCG products that I had that I was checked out at all. And they have new ones, and I hope they're available across the board, but especially in like Europe and Southeast Asia, and because I do see comments where people are like, I want to buy this, but it doesn't exist in my country, or I want to buy this, but the only ones I can find in my country are like $150 or whatever.
Right.
Because it's like so difficult. All stemmed from like distro problems. So that is something that, yes, I would like to see more or improved upon, like specifically like European distribution. Yeah.
I think there's like on that topic too, there's an interesting thing that's about to happen, which is that as we're about to leave for the first Ascent in Europe, 2 weeks prior to that, or in a couple of days as of recording, it's actually the day of release. If you're releasing it on time, Alchemical Revolution Ultra Edition is releasing, and it has cards in it that are no doubt going to impact the metagame. And this Ascent has the possibility, depending on how the distribution works, if there are any distribution problems in Europe, it might have the possibility of players coming from all around the world who have access to these cards into the region that is having trouble getting access to those cards. And it could be a very interesting unintended advantage for outside players, depending on how that works, or it could cause a weird market fluctuation while they're there or something.
Yeah, good point.
So, I mean, I hope it's not that. As much as I love to get a little leg up when we're going there, I don't want it to be because of that.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope that distribution is pretty clean and everybody's got ALC Alter available to them. Because, definitely some good stuff in that.
Yeah, I mean, that actually made me think of another thing too. Not exactly related with distro, but just kind of like being more non-US friendly. And I don't think it's going to happen this year. But I would like to see Grand Archive officially translated to other languages.
I knew that's where you were going with this.
Yeah, because like people in Japan are already picking the game up and playing it in a language that they don't speak or read for the most part. Some of them do, but it's the opposite is kind of like crazy to think, right? It's kind of crazy to think of a game taking off in the United States that's not in English. I've seen it happen a couple times for like Japanese games, but it's always a super niche community. Like WeCross, for example, before it finally got its English release, but it was like a tiny community. So like, yeah, I would like to see that. I think Japan obviously makes a lot of sense, but Europe makes a lot of sense too. You know, French, German, Spanish, Italian, you know, the regular suite of the European languages. So yeah, that is definitely something I'd like to see. I don't think it'll happen this year, like not at all, but I think it would be cool.
That's a major step though, that I'm sure is a milestone on Weeb's roadmap that they need to reach, you know, at some point. At some point it'll become it'll make sense to do. But it's a huge, like an insane cost, an insane timeline issue in general, because they're so particular about their printing and their printers. And they just now, I mean, this is another thing, I'm sure you were going to get to this at some point, but I'll just jump ahead. Another thing this year that's extremely exciting is that Alter editions are plotted out for everything except Fractured Crown, which still doesn't need it. Still enough Fractured Crown. I bought at Santa Clara, we found an LGS that had boxes of Fractured Crown, and I bought one at $60 still, which is under MSRP. Still the market rate. I just grabbed one for fun and cracked it there. So no issues with Fractured Crown still, but we have ALC, like I said, about to release. MRC coming in the middle of the year, and even Mortal Ambition Alter is on the schedule for the end of the year, which is really, for me, that was really heartening to see, because just not that long ago, when they did a live stream before Mortal Ambition release, they talked about how I believe, if that was the one, the devs talked about how their printing had certain bottlenecks with sourcing paper and everything, and so it was a previous stream to that. So it was one of these streams they did that.
I mean, on top of that, Silidar was pretty forthcoming about similar bottlenecks with the Kongming holiday bundle that they did, because that sold out really quickly. And he was like, we can only make a certain number because our manufacturer can only make a certain number. That's why they had to do like a second wave. So that is not surprising to me, even if I think I've heard it before, but even if I hadn't, you know, it feels like it's something, was one of the limitations they have with how they print their product.
Yeah. And so that, you know, going from that as one of the last things I heard about manufacturing to, hey, we have the entire year plotted out plus full reprints of 3 sets this year. I mean, that effectively means this year there are 6 distinct set releases that are going to printers and coming out. You know, and just, this isn't Magic the Gathering, right? So it's like, some of those are just like a reprint that has a few new cards.
Not actually 6 sets like Magic the Gathering, which I do believe they have exactly like 6 mainline sets scheduled.
Yeah, at this point, yes, that is actually accurate. But you know, that is, I think, just remarkable for this, again, this smaller independent, you know, studio that's creating this. That to me, when I saw that, a lot of people were talking about it. That was the milestone. Where, like, they have it. They have the throughput. They have it figured out. They're pushing out the content, and it's going to get eaten up. Just seeing the
roadmap at all, I was very impressed. I was not expecting a comprehensive roadmap, because we mentioned how it lists all the events, but as you say, it also lists all of the sets, lists the new sets that are coming out and when they're going to be coming out. And I can't think, I mean, Magic did something similar. They showed their roadmap, but like, what other game has done? Like, I think Flesh and Blood did a kind of a vague one as well. But like, Grand Archive's been out, this is their second year, right? This is their second full year going into the second year, so they've only have like 1 full year under their belts, and I think it's very impressive, you know, what they're doing.
It is in the industry, as you and I both know, Kel, it's not a common thing to get that much information that early. And it's very refreshing to see. It's very nice, and it's why, you know, just talking about all the events and everything this year, one thing that's happening for me, maybe I should have saved this for like a big video on my channel, but I'm just going to say it. I'm going to put it on your channel.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
I mean, Grand Archive has always been a major focus. There are other games that I really like, but this year, especially with our travel locked in and everything, Grand Archive is undoubtedly my primary focus for the year. As much as I really do adore the other games, I can't just hide and like make people think that I'm not playing favorites. I do have a favorite, and because it's going to be obvious whether I say it or not,
right.
because I'm going to be posting all these videos and tweets about going to Ascent this and Ascent that and this regional and that and everything, and I'm going to be attending events for other games, but I'm going to a Grand Archive event at least every other month, and they're all like ones I have to fly to, and in some cases more frequently than that. They're just, the team is traveling an awful lot, and I have so much fun. There is no other card game right now that I can sit down and play a full 9 rounds day one and go into day 2 and be like, I'm so ready to jam more of this, and then get home and go, let's fix the deck, let's build new decks, I'm locked in. I'm having the time of my life with this game.
Yeah, I mean, I love Grand Archive. It's no surprise, it's one of my favorite games, one of the main games I cover here on the channel, and I don't know, I just kind of thinking about that and events and stuff. One thing that you mentioned, Gen Con, one thing I think would be cool as well, I don't know if they could do it, I don't know the logistics of this, but it would be cool if they were able to hold events parallel to like Gen Con, but also like Anime Expo, right? Because I think that's one of the things that Grand Archive is doing that is so smart in terms of like marketing. And I actually have some like viewer questions that kind of ask this kind of stuff, but I think it's smart of them to appeal to not just card players, but they're appealing to like general weebs and nerds and that kind of stuff, you know, showing up at like anime conventions, which makes a lot of sense, right? And I think it's one of the things they're doing that other card games might not be doing. Some of them do. All of like the big pocket ones, like, you know, Bandai obviously is going to be there, that kind of stuff. Bushiroad's going to be there, but I think they know their audience, and I think they're kind of, you know, playing towards it, which I think is
that's one of the things.
Cool.
That's one of the things that's like, I think, so interesting about Grand Archive, in that you mentioned Bandai, but Bandai obviously has this, they have this huge elephant, which is that all of their IPs are just massive, and makes it greatly, like, the amount that it reduces the hurdle to getting interested in a game can't possibly be overstated. It's all you have to do is go, oh yeah, I like Gundam, and you see a cool Gundam card and you go, I like that, right? But very few of these games that are their own IPs are able to like generate traction at a con in the same way that Grand Archive has done. Actually, a pretty surprised, like, they've done a surprisingly good job where I've talked to more people than I would have expected who said, actually, Grand Archive was my first trading card game.
Yeah, I can see that.
Or like, I was like, well, going into this, when I heard it for the first time, I was like it's such a like high skill requirement game to like get into the competitive side of things, because it is a game that has like you get the floor mopped if you are playing against a skilled competitive gamer, and it's like you know, your first card game and whatever, you're just not used to that kind of stuff, because it's a game that does not at any point hold your hand. It says, hey, if you want to screw up, go for it. We're not going to tell you how to do things. Main Deck Taylor was getting on me a little bit because I did a recent podcast. I just threw a hot take out there, like said Magic is a baby game compared to Grand Archive. That's you know, that's intended to be a little incendiary, just for fun. And it's,
I mean, like, I get it. I was like, you said that, I'm like, yeah, I would say that factually, I would say like for like Lorcana, but
right. But you know, it's this whole idea that there are a lot of games out there that do limit your decisions that you're making from turn to turn massively. And I like those games a lot. Just to be clear, again, I'm screwing around a little bit, right? But
right, yeah.
It's fun. It's fun to poke fun at Magic. It's the big bear. Like, you gotta poke the bear sometimes, right? But
I mean, it's been around forever, and it's so like kind of bloated in every way possible.
It's a big bear.
I think Magic being so bloated could actually attribute it to being overwhelming for some new players, depending on how they approach it. Especially if someone gets into Magic and their friends are like, "Oh, we play Commander. Come play Commander with us." And I'm like,
"Yeah,
good luck." Literally every mechanic ever made in the last like 25 to 30 years of Magic or whatever, you know?
Yeah. And that was the thing that was so funny too. Is I had someone on the main deck Discord the other day. I always have to be specific about this. The open one, the full community one, who came on and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna check out Grand Archive. I just hope it's not as complicated as Magic." And I was like, I don't even know how to respond to this, because you're right and wrong at the same time. It's like
what I've found. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, it is like you're saying, keyword wise and everything. It's like nothing compares to the amount of bloat in Magic. But then Magic has the thing where it's like you have one thing you can do on turn one and two things maybe you can do on turn two. But
that's
maybe
true.
One. And Grand Archive is like, here's your hand.
Yeah. In terms, I agree. I agree 100%. In terms of like, I think what people like to coin this as is like decision paralysis. I feel like there's a lot more decision paralysis in Grand Archive from the ground up, because at the start of your turn, you have to choose what you want to materialize, right? Sometimes you do your champion, but I think a common mistake that I see a lot of new players are like, I always level my champion. And that's frequently not what you should be doing. And so like, you have that option. You have those options. You have the cards that you have in your hand. You have, other effects and, whatever. Do you activate your thing before your recollection step? There's a bunch of, things that you can do that add like a lot of complications to it. I have found, and I find this kind of interesting, folks that I've taught or seen learn to play Grand Archive have a better time with it, at least in my experience, if they've never played any card game ever, than people who are coming specifically from other card games. And I think it's because some of those other card games have drilled certain play patterns into people and they expect things to be similar. Whereas like when I first playtested Grand Archive with my partner Robin, this is like during Kickstarter, right? This is literally printing out the cards at FedEx and then putting them in sleeves and then playing with Robin and then playing with Alan, one of the devs. I had him on the channel a couple times to do some like gameplay stuff. But Robin picked it up pretty quickly, but she doesn't play any other TCGs. And so she was just like, okay, this is how the game works. Like, and so she treated it just like you treat learning like any other board game. And like, okay, these are the rules. And I kind of like, playing with her, I kind of gave her some general tips. I'm like, oh, it's good to play, low units early. Sometimes it's good not to attack with them, blah, that kind of stuff. But just something not related to the topic that I noticed with Grand Archive. I do want to mention though, because I talked about Anime Expo. I talked about like the involvement, and I'm sure it'll be. I think actually they've already announced that they're going to be at AX again this year. I was at AX in 2024 for Bushiroad since I'm a Shadowverse ambassador, but I did kind of like hang out at the Grand Archive booth when I was, in a little bit of my free time, and they were always packed. They were always hopping. Talking to people there, they were like, we sold out of our demos like immediately, and so I think that's just like an awesome sign, and I think it helps reinforce what you mentioned as like it could be just a lot of folks' first TCG, and people just walking around AX in like the game area, they're like, hey, this game looks cool. Some people are looking to get free stuff. A lot of the booths, if you do something, you get a free thing. And so for Grand Archive, I think it was you had to demo the game, or I can't remember exactly what it was, but you had to do some stuff to get the Flame Swordsman, not Flame Swordsman, that's a Yu-Gi-Oh card, but you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. The one with the Ghoul art, the one with the really cute Ghoul art. So yeah, I don't know. I think they're doing that, and I'd love to see them, go back to AX and other anime events, other non-TCG specific things.
They posted their convention schedule for this year as well, and that included. I don't know that I didn't do the math. Math is hard. Obviously, play card games, so math is difficult.
Yeah.
But it looked like it was maybe something in the realm of twice as many conventions as they went to last year. I think something like that.
They already go to a ton too. Like, they really do.
It's crazy. It's crazy, but they're really expanding that outreach. Like you said, I think they are doing a really good job. Frankly, they have some of the best artwork, anime style artwork in the industry. It's really, really good.
I mean, like, I'll be honest. I play a lot of TCGs, most of them anime TCGs these days. And one of the most important things for me for a card game, next to gameplay, are aesthetics. And I think Grand Archive, the fact that they rival Cygames and like Bandai, I think they look much better than most Bandai games, to be frank. I think the new Gundam, the original stuff for the Gundam game looks really cool, but
it's good.
But like they rival like Cardfight Vanguard, which has all original art, and like Cygames, which is like has amazing artwork because they're a massive company that makes anime and stuff.
And Yu-Gi-Oh! I think they don't get enough credit, but Yu-Gi-Oh! Has good art too. I like Yu-Gi-Oh's art a lot.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Has better art these days than it did when I played it as a kid.
No, 100%. Old Yu-Gi-Oh! Art is like real wild.
It's like weird and janky, and I still kind of feel a little bit nostalgic for it.
Yeah, it's nostalgic. But
when I do see new Yu-Gi-Oh! Art, I'm just like what? This is a plant, and it's just like a waifu with like a flower in her hair or something. Yeah,
we're a fan.
Yeah, back then it would be like a gourd with like a bunch of spiked tentacles and an ugly face or something.
I can picture exactly what you're talking about.
There's like the killer tomato and whatever. Yeah, that's
Hungry Burger.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was like a ritual summon. It was a ritual summon.
It was a ritual summon. I
don't remember the components, but I do remember it was a 2000 attack. I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh. Some people might not know, but I played a good chunk of Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
And anyway, I agree.
But yeah, the art is so good.
I mean, like, yeah, looking into 2025, that's just something I'm like, hey, just do more. Just do more of it. Like, I think they're doing a fantastic job. I think they hire great artists among folks in the TCG industry. I'm literally leaning on a mat that Dan sent me by our mutual friend and fantastic artist Pinakis. Is this? Pinakis. And he's like one of my favorite artists. And like folks who don't like follow social media or look at other stuff, Pinakis has done art for like Azure Lane and other like big mobile games and other stuff too, other than Grand Archive. And so like they're doing a good job of just kind of like scooping up good industry artists. And
their artist stable is incredible. I mean, again, like you and I both follow or at least know of a lot of TCGs, and if it isn't one of the major companies like the ones you mentioned, I think, and they're doing like trying to do an anime style thing across the board, in my opinion, art's subjective, but across the board from everything I've seen, the art is either generally less consistent, I think is the best thing I can say, or is not, I mean, if I want to be harsh, just not as good. Grand Archive across the board. I mean, Grand Archive has, I think set one had a few little shakier pieces. Yeah. But
everyone likes to mention like Gandalf, right?
Yeah. Careful study.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time finding anything that I think is not great in the modern set style. It's especially when you get to their like, their high rarity chase cards and everything. Ugh.
Yeah, I think it's because they care like a lot.
Yeah.
And they want their game to just look really, really good. I think games with developers who really feel like that and have like the passion for it, I think it comes through. It's not exclusive to Grand Archive, obviously. Games like Flesh and Blood are in similar boats. You can kind of tell that the people who make it really love the game, and so like I think that's true for Grand Archive as well. I mean, people who know that the devs kind of like lurk in discords and stuff, and they listen to a lot of the feedback. I would not be surprised at all if Silidar is watching or listening to this right now. Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Silidar?
Hey, Sil likes to repost memes and stuff that I post on Twitter these days too, so that's a lot of fun. And I'll just go ahead and throw out, they really need to get on Blue Sky. Keep mentioning that, but since he's listening, I want him to know that.
Yeah. I mean, they need like, yeah, actually I agree. The official, they need an official account on Blue Sky. Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I think at this point, all of the companies do, just for marketing reasons in general. If I was working at any of these companies, if I was doing consulting, that would be a thing that I would be like, hey, you should do this.
Altered is on there now.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, I was really excited to see that. They were one of the first TCG companies I follow that actually made the jump. Game Genic, I think, was right before them too.
Okay, cool.
So yeah, it's slowly happening. But the reason I bring that up is just because Blue Sky is better for content creators in general.
Oh yeah.
Algorithmically speaking, it's better.
I've not been lucky so far with Blue Sky. Maybe that's because I'm too ingrained with like Twitter, and I have a much bigger following on Twitter.
Well, yeah, it's growing. But as far as just like in 2025, that's something I would like to see too. I'd like to see that's another thing to work on, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And you know what? I mean, going into that, and this is a question that some folks asked before in the Rogues Gallery Discord about. Let me find exactly, because I'll shout them out. Okay, so because I have streamer mode on it, like hid their name, but hold on one second. It says, is there anything the Grand Archive is missing that keeps it from becoming more popular? And what is something that you think weebs can do to encourage new players to try out the game? And I think you can answer this in a couple different ways, and I'm going to answer it in a very broad way. Just because we're talking about social media, I think they could do more advertising in general, just across the board. They could do more advertising, because I'll be honest, maybe just it's because it's not targeted at me, maybe for whatever reason, but I don't really see much GA advertising outside of them attending events and that kind of stuff. Like, I don't see ads pop up or anything like that, and I would like to see more of that. And speaking as a content creator who is very involved with Grand Archives, sometimes this is hit and miss, but I would like to also see them reach out to more content creators who aren't potentially involved in Grand Archive. I will say, I think they're doing a good job of it so far, better than some other companies, but I think they could do more. And what I mean by that is I've seen Grand Archive reach out and do collaborations with VTubers and folks who I think that they think would fit the game well, like the right audience. I think they're doing a good job with it. So I don't think it's nothing. They're doing nothing now, but I think they could do more. Yeah.
I wish I had a more interesting, different answer, but to me, there are a few elements that you really need to lock down to have a good sort of onboarding ramp to get people to find the game, get interested in the game, and get locked in the game, right? It's like there's kind of like 3 different steps to that are really important, and you need to have a good solution for each one. As far as trying the game out, to learn the game, or what did I say? I already forgot what I said the second one. But I mean, it's really the stage of like learning the game, trying the game, playing it for the first time. The starter decks are actually designed really well, generally very balanced against each other. Yeah. They are a great onboarding experience, and they're also unique feeling too. And I think that's been actually something that's been really cool. Although, like shout out to Universe's major player Tim Keefe, who I talked to a lot about this kind of stuff too, who's very correct in saying, starting in set 3, set 3 had some big mechanical bloat that was like whoa, like trying to teach a new player guns and Arasana's stuff and everything was like, this is like maybe a little bit on the push end. That said, I think they're really fun mechanics and cool, especially as competing with Cam now as #1 Arasana stan. Right.
I really love Ari too. Hey, how many Ari posters do you have in your studio? I might have more than you.
Oh, you have more than me actually, because I know one of the ones you have, I think it was Taro art.
So I do. So I have Dragon Art Taro signed by her, and then I also have a framed Dragon Art Triss one also signed by her that has Ari and Diana, and then I also have the foil Mercurial Heart poster that has Ari. So I technically,
to be fair,
have 3.
That's in our LGS. So I'll put that there instead. You're beating me on those, but how many CSR Aris do you have? I think I got you.
Bro, I don't got very many CSRs at all. I've not been lucky with the CSRs, and the ones that I have, I've either sold or traded. I definitely regret selling my Merlin 3 Alt Art CSR. That one I regret selling, for sure. But Anyway,
I found a very, very powerful card that I've been able to use to obtain many of these. It's called a credit card.
it's called your credit card. Yeah.
anyway, I'm getting a little off topic. But you know, as far as like learning the game, they both have, I think, a really good demo presence, like we've talked about,
Agreed.
which is really good. You need to have that, but I think at the LGS level, that's something that we know there were rumblings of the like GA Academy thing they started kind of messing around with last year that hasn't materialized into anything really big yet. I think as far as off the shelf, you can pick up the starters and you can learn the game with the provided video. Kind of. I recommend my how to play personally, or Kelly, you have one too, right?
No, I actually don't. I didn't make a how to play because yours was really good. I'm like, I don't need to make it. I don't need to waste like hours and hours to make one. You already have a really good one. So
all right, well, you know, my
just watch Dan's.
I've heard good things about. People tend to think it's very helpful.
It's very good. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
So I think as far as like that's like if you want to learn on your own, I think it's pretty capable. It's pretty easy thing for most people to do. And then I'd like more LGS demos, but they're the con demos they're doing are really good too. We ran a couple really successful demo events in the last couple of months, and our average player base is just about doubled now.
Ooh, nice. How many people do you guys get, if you don't mind me asking?
We have locally around 12 consistent players at this point, which is really good. It's not, we're not to the crazy levels that like SEA and Taiwan and stuff get,
right? Yeah,
for their locals. They're very, again, like a culture thing. I think like you're saying is a little different. They're very, very honed in and dedicated. But I will say for Fargo, North Dakota, I think we're doing pretty good. Okay, we're not on the West Coast or anything, so I'm happy with for that. But yeah, I think that stage there's just a little bit they can work on. I think the like getting locked into the game, I think that's where you give someone a recollection deck recommendation.
Oh yeah,
and it's hard for them to go wrong at that point.
I don't really want to start talking about the recollection decks too much because I can talk a long time. I think they are. Yeah. I literally said in my top 5 TCG products of 2024, I think they are a benchmark product for the TCG industry that set the bar so high that they make a lot of competitors look awful in comparison, especially in that premium price point. Exactly. If you're looking for the lower entry side of things, you know, like your $10 to $20, that's not that product. It's a separate thing. Look at other things. But at the $50 price point, it's literally the best in the market, in my opinion. And I've checked out almost all of them. It's similar. They like Bushiroad has some similar ones that do similar things, but I think Grand Archive does it the best. They give you the most stuff. They give you the highest quality stuff. So instead of like a little just cardboard, you know, tuck box or whatever, you get actually like a magnetic box with art. You get, it's just fantastic. I don't want to go too much into it, but I think that product, for a new player who is already familiar with card games, I think it is a very, very good product. If you've never played card games before and you're willing to like jump into the deep end, I also think it's a good product for you. If you're like, yo, I want the easy mode experience, yo, maybe do one of the smaller starter decks, maybe do one of the little demo trial things. If you want like an easier onboarding experience, but for someone like me, if I never played Grand Archive before, this would be exactly what I want. And even for folks who have never played card games before, I still think it's really good because it gives you almost everything you need, actually. Like it gives you the deck, it gives you a storage box, it gives you sleeves to sleeve up your deck. The only thing you're missing is like a playmat and dice. Like literally that's the only thing you're missing. And you don't technically need a playmat, and almost everyone I know has dice anyway. So it's like, it's actually like a complete package where you don't need to go like, oh, I bought a deck, well now I need to go buy sleeves, and now that I have these cards, now I need to go buy a deck box. Like you just have it all. Like, I think it's very good.
At the store, we have opened plenty of products for other card games that include a playmat in them, and I can definitely tell you what happens to those playmats. That there are 60 million of, and nobody actually cares because you all have a million playmats like I do right over here.
I literally sold like 30 to 50 playmats last year because I just had so much bloat. I need to get rid of these. I literally took them to an LGS here and I was just like, take my playmats, and he just bought them like in bulk. from me. So it's like, I think playmats are very subjective too. People will pick the ones that of the art that they like. And I think having them in products like this is a nice gesture, but doesn't artificially increase the price, but increases the price for sure, and gives them something that they might not end up using for very long, like you said. So right. I don't think playmats included for something like this is required, or I don't think it's. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with where you were going with it. I don't think it's
the box contains
optimal.
Everything it needs to have. And anything extra is like
the one extra thing that I think could make it just that much cooler is Grand Archive themed branded dice. That would be the only other thing that I would like in there, and it could fit in the box. It definitely could fit. They don't need to increase the packaging, but it's a whole other thing, right? And that's like extra, right? You don't.
Well, you know what? But like talking about extra, last year we had the release of the Arasana starter deck, which included multiple extra things that were not needed, but made that experience that much better. The herb dice and the herb table foldable card.
Yes, and they did not charge you more for it. It's the same price, which that's pretty cool. Like,
yeah. It was that very, and you also mentioned as far as like Recollection deck price points, we also have learned about in 2025 the release of Recollection deck Lite with MRC.
Yes, yeah. They're reprinting the Sylvie and the Tristan ones. Yeah.
We don't have a price point yet, but I would expect they're down to the 15 to 20 range at that point.
Oh man, if they're the same price as the regular starters, that is so good.
I mean, they're going to contain more cards than regular starters. So they might not be 15. But I would not be shocked to see them either 20. I think 20 or 25 would.
I'm feeling $24.99. Yeah, I'm feeling 25.
$24.99 could be right on with them. But if they're printed in the right quantity, you're going to be able to get them at like $19.99 or something from a lot of retailers. And I think like that is going to be. I mean, already those decks are like incredible.
They're so good. Yeah.
To start with. And I think that's just another nice trend to see them start. And so far, we've seen. I mean, I wish I could say this about more companies, but we've seen Weaves of the Shore be consistent across the board with their. If there are a few things that they like keep tweaking. We talk like drop rates of SRs,
right?
And everything.
Yeah,
like, there's tweaking, but like there's so many other card games that I'm sure you can speak to this too, Cal, where every set, I don't know what the decks are going to be like. I don't know what they're going to be called. I don't know what the chase rarities are going to be like. I just, whereas I know what I'm getting into and I like it and I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
So we have the new Recollection decks coming out too in Abyssal Heaven. And because of their consistency, they're constantly sticking to it. I know I can tell everybody, if you're looking for a new place to start, go order a Guoja deck. Go order a Daochen deck.
Yeah, just pick which character you like the most. Just go for it. That would have been my number one want going into 2025. Would be more Recollection decks, and we already know we're getting them soon. Actually, very very soon with Abyssal Heaven, and I think like I said, it's literally the best product of 2024 in my opinion for TCGs, and running them back makes a lot of sense. And the fact that they're running them back literally as they were before, same price, they're not jacking up the price or anything because they sold so well. I think it's just awesome. And I just hope they just keep doing it. I hope it's just kind of like a mainstay of Grand Archive just moving forward. Maybe they drop a couple a year. They could really fit into where when I used to play Magic, back in my day, actually not that long ago, but maybe it was because time. But back when they used to do one commander set release a year, that was a thing that I always bought. I always bought the one commander set, and I would just buy one of each of the decks. And because there was just such good products that had cool reprints, cool new mechanics, and it felt like almost just like buying a board game type experience. And I feel like this could be that for Grand Archive, but different, right? It's not Commander, it's its own thing. But if they do like one or two releases a year consistently, I think it could be like a staple of the game and of like the franchise.
Well, let's expand on that idea a little bit, because I think this is something that a lot of people in the general TCG audience who aren't as involved at like things like the store level and stuff, I think they take this for granted a little bit. But when you have a game that is like truly successful, like at the level of games like some of the Bandai games have been, like Magic, obviously, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, you get all manner of people engaging with your game. A lot of Grand Archive really is very, very involved competitive players. Like, new sets coming out, yep, of course I'm going to order cases at my LGS or whatever. There are a lot of players like that because it is a highly just a highly involved indie game. But as a game grows, you expand and you include more people of different types, and it's important that your product line like properly supports those people. And one type of player I see a lot in the bigger games is the treat it like a board game gamers. That's a real thing. And some people out there are going to be like, I had no idea, or maybe I don't even believe this idiot. He has no idea what he's talking about. But I swear to God, you get the people who are like, do you remember the Dual Deck series in Magic the Gathering?
Oh yeah.
I talked to so many people, starting with Elves versus Goblins going forward. I talked to more people than you would believe who said, oh yeah, every time a new dual deck comes out, I just sleeve them up and throw them in my box. And my friends and I will just pull out the dual decks, and we'll do Jace versus Goblins, and we'll do Phyrexia versus, I don't remember all of them. They had a bunch of weird ones, but they had some weird ones.
They had like, I remember like, it was like Elves versus Inventors or something. They got weird with it.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. I was trying to think of that one. There was like a Might versus Mind thing, I swear.
Yeah.
Maybe that was that one. But yeah, whatever. They had and there are people who just, they have a battle box, right? That's just like, here's all my sleeve decks.
Okay, I'll be honest, I literally have that, keeping on with Magic, for a couple of the Universes Beyond properties that I really like. I love Lord of the Rings, so I literally bought all of the Lord of the Rings commander decks, and I sleeve them up, and they're literally in a battle box. So if my brother ever comes over, my brother's also likes Lord of the Rings, I'm like, you want to play the Lord of the Rings like Magic stuff? I have them, just the commander decks, and Warhammer. I have the Warhammer ones too. So I mean, I do that not just for Magic. I've done that for some other card games as well. So
and you get people who are like involved and pick them up just as a side thing, or you have people who it's the whole thing they buy, because look, TCGs are a luxury, expensive hobby. Like you just the economy today. Like, I mean, like you can't just not everyone can engage at that level. So you need that products.
TCGs are really funny in that way, because they're both really, really, hear me out. This is gonna sound crazy at first. They're both really, really affordable and really, really not affordable. It all depends on what you want and how involved you want to be, because a lot of trading card games have actually a really low barrier of entry starter product. A lot of TCGs have around a $10 starter deck kind of thing. And so if you wanted to play with a friend, that's like $20. Maybe on the higher end, they're each $20. So maybe you have $40. Compare that to like an actual board game. Most board games are 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 plus dollars. And so when you compare that, just that, not buying anything else, it's not that bad. But the problem is when you like, I want to buy packs, and I want to buy singles, and I want to build a competitive deck, and I want to keep buying that. That's when it gets very, very expensive. So I think TCGs are really interesting in that way. And I think what you're talking about, the folks who treat it as a board game, who go in on the lower side of things, is definitely real. And I know like a lot of people, it's literally someone in the Rogues Gallery Discord says they have their trunk in their car is full of a bunch of battle boxes of a ton of different card games, ranging from like new games like Union Arena to stuff like Luck and Logic. He literally mentioned Luck and Logic, and I was like, holy, that is a deep cut. And so like, and he was also like, yeah, it wasn't that expensive. People see it and they're like, oh, you must have spent a fortune. And he's like, no, it's just all like base, not expensive sleeves and starter decks. So yeah.
And I think it's huge for a game to have products that can enable that more casual audience to still engage with the game and enjoy the game, and have something, again, just a consistency, a thing that they can look for every so often. Like, honestly, I don't know the numbers behind WotC, obviously, but I was shocked, like floored that they canceled the Dual Deck series, because I know from behind the counter experience for many years that it was an extremely popular item for their casual audience. And I think maybe it's just, if anything, it's testament to how pervasive Commander has been, because that's probably what killed it over anything else.
I was like, yeah, thinking about it, it might also be because it's one of those type of products that it's not as popular as Commander, and it's one of those products that people only ever need to buy one of, or, you know, it's one of those things where like people aren't scooping up like 6 or 7 of them like they are booster boxes. Sure. I imagine the reason is, cynically speaking, probably because it doesn't make them as much money as Commander or boosters. That's what I was going at. Yeah.
But as far as like people picking up multiple copies, you know, if only a company, or it's not they're not the first ones to do it, but if only a company could find a way to put some sort of recursive value in the product, so that you have a reason to empty your LGS's shelf of their stagnant product every now and then. That would be really cool, like CSR hits or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very Japanese card game thing, to be honest. Yeah, like Vice Schwartz does. Yeah, Vice Schwartz does it too, like with the chase cards and the thing.
Weiss was my first experience with that, but
but I will say I think it's a good thing on another level too, that I don't think a lot of people know, because a lot of people looking to get into, like, we're going to use the Recollection decks as the example for this. A lot of people looking to buy the Recollection decks are people looking to start the game for the first time, and as such are not very involved with the community. And I've seen community posts in very like entrenched community places, like Merlin's Marketplace, for example, that someone watching one of our videos doesn't know exists. This random Discord channel that you have to kind of go searching for. People are selling just the cards from it for super cheap. Like if you just want the decks, it's really, really cheap. Sometimes even like it's everything except for the packs, right? The only thing that people wanted were to get the packs to see if they get the CSRs, and they're like, yeah, we're selling it for like $30 or however much it is. I knew like multiple people who are doing it. Like some friends of ours who we've done casting with has done it because they just buy it all up because they want to get the CSRs.
Right.
But until they resell it back to the community without the chase stuff for like super good pricing. I think that's a good positive. I wish there's a way to like make it more public for folks, because I still see people who are like, I can't find the product. It's so expensive. That sometimes has to do with regional stuff like we talked about earlier, but yeah.
I also wish there was something in these products. I think this is, I'll go ahead. This is another piece of criticism that I would just like to see added. Something in these products that says, probably not feasible to do when you hit a CSR, but like something that says, hey, if you see a really cool shiny card in here, you're really lucky. That's a valuable thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because there's so many games that you just reviewed Ultraman, and you opened up that starter deck and it was like just flush with foils, and the first thing you said was, I have no idea if I got lucky or if this is just how it is. Yeah. And I would love if that were something that there was like a transparent thing in the box that said there was a 1 in 72 chance that you got something really cool in here, so that someone's first experience isn't getting like screwed out of a card by some unscrupulous person who's like, oh yeah, I just need one of those. Every deck comes with it. Here, I'll trade you this cool card for it. You know,
I'm gonna double down on that a little bit. Just the general sentiment. I think not only Grand Archive, but just TCGs in general need more like how to play and info books just in their starter products in general. Some people, some card games will just slap a QR code, and some don't do anything at all, which is kind of insane to me. But like having like, so I've done a couple, like I've tried out Lorcana recently just because I want to try out all the games, and I bought some of their starter product for really, really cheap because I found some deals over like Black Friday and stuff a few months ago. So I got decks for like $5, $6 or whatever. And they do a good job of having a booklet. Each one comes with a booklet, full color, tells you how to play the game, tells you like all the stuff. And I'm like, when did this like fall out of fashion for other games?
Yeah.
Like,
no, for real.
Like, say what you want about Lorcana. I'm not like the biggest like Disney guy out there. I think the game is fine. Like, literally I knew how to play it before I started playing it. Like it was little, it's one of those,
yeah,
I'm like I already know how to play this game. The only thing I had questions like, okay, is there timing on, like, what's the timing on certain things? Because every game does it differently. But yeah, I think their starter rulebook thing was like cool. It's like not super fancy. It's like just color and 20 pages or whatever it is. But I would love to see that kind of stuff in Grand Archive and like other games in general. And I think that's a good place to put that kind of thing too, because you could have a here's the how to play section, but you could also have a part like that's like maybe 2 or 3 pages where they're like, most games do this. So like, these are the card types. Here's a, follower. Here's a whatever. Here's a spell, whatever. But you could keep going. Next page. This is a common card. This is a rare card. This is a super rare card. This is what this looks like. This is what it looks like. And so it'll even show you. But you could even get a collector rare or whatever, and it shows you that. And it's like, oh, this is special. And just, I think you could do it and it could be really good. I
have a distinct memory of the Dragon Ball Z rulebook having back in the day, score Dragon Ball Z, having a page that laid out each of the rarities. And so I knew my first starter deck for Dragon Ball Z, I opened an ultra rare in it. And if you know anything about that game, they were insanely rare in the first set. And I got it out of a foil slot in the starter deck. And I don't even think it was supposed to have ultra rares in it.
Oh,
I think
wow.
The thing said it could have like one common and one uncommon foil, I'm pretty sure. And I got this and I'm like, what is this? But the rule book told me that was 6-star Dragon Ball. That meant it was an ultra rare card.
Yeah.
I'm exactly on the same page. I think that Grand Archive is a game that does a QR code in the starter decks. And the QR code doesn't even go to my video.
Yeah,
so,
what the hell? I mean, like, I understand where they're coming from for that, because I imagine this is, I don't want to put too many words into the devs' mouths, but I imagine it comes from two main points. The first one is cost, right? Less paper, less cost. They don't have to design the thing. They don't have to print the thing. It's probably not a huge cost, but it's still a cost, especially when you're printing a ton of, decks, right? And the second point is probably people are like, well, everyone has a phone. You have your phone on you all the time. You can just scan the QR code. You don't need the thing. I imagine that is, in my mind, that's what the justification is. I would still like a physical thing. Maybe because I'm old, but I think it's really helpful, and it's especially helpful for new players to have, because like anyone who plays board games knows this. When you're learning a new board game, you always have the rule book like with you, like next to you, and you're like, pull out the rule book. What's the rule on this? Like having that is just super, super nice, and it's so much better than like, hey, we both make YouTube videos. But it's so much better than like scrolling through the YouTube video trying to find the spot where he talks about like attack triggers or whatever. It's just really nice to have. It's not like needed, I guess, but it's definitely quality of life improvement, I would say.
If I could guess, and again, we know Siladar is watching, so I'll see if I can guess what he's saying right now. But I would say the biggest reason they probably might avoid that, or might be thinking about just trying to, continue to do a QR code, is that a QR code can lead to a dynamic rules source that can change as the game changes. Whereas if your first starter deck is a Lorraine starter deck and it has in the rule book, it says when you level up, you wake up your champion.
Right.
I literally was just talking to Kel about I got a comment on my deck profile for Lorraine where someone said, I'm confused because that's not a rule anymore.
So I would say if that is the reason, why don't you just do both? Why don't you have the rule book and then also a QR code at the end of the rule book that will double down and be like, here's a video, here's a link to the video, or a link to the current comprehensive rules in case anything has changed. Hell, you can go even further and be even more consumer friendly and like, here's a link to our ban list or something like that, so people know what cards are legal for play as well, so you don't run into those situations. So that's what I would say. Like you could do both.
You can have a rule book that's just big on the cover, like this is the rule book of Mortal Ambition.
The rule books are so good. You have so much potential too, because a lot of the other questions that folks asked have to do with lore and story and characters, and it's the best, coolest way to like be like, here's the rules, but also here's a little bit about whatever the character of the starter deck is, right? Here's a little bit about Arsana, here's a little bit about Diana, whatever. And all you need is like a little page with like lore, who the character is, motivations, that kind of personality, whatever. Like, I think Grand Archive does characters super, super well. I think it's actually one of the biggest strengths of the game. The fact when I first went to Ascent Houston, the very first Ascent, and I heard that people were like genuinely upset that they couldn't get the Merlin playmat. Told me a lot about the fans of the game.
That's right.
Like they were upset that the mat sold out, and it's because they loved the characters and they just wanted the playmat. And so I think like capitalizing on it and using the characters even more, I think is really good. Just in general, starter the rule books, but also like in general, I think it'd be great. A lot of people like here in the Discord, they were said people just want actual, just more written story. People want conclusions or resolutions to story that already exist. There's a lot of comments here about like, we want to know what happens in Cambria. We want to know what happens in yada, yada, yada. So I think generally that's something that the community seems to want. I want it to. I think they're working on it. I think that's something that they are actively working on with Bell, working on a lot of stuff.
Bell was a new hire, like as of late last year, late-ish last year. And it takes a little bit of time. TCG's giant business, slow-moving ship. It takes a little bit of time to kind of printing time for everything. And so, I suspect in 2025, we're going to see more impact of Bell on the team as well. But I mean, just to kind of turn this back to the question a little bit, because we did veer. Yes. We did take a little off-road trip there for a little bit, but I think one element of locking people into your game certainly involves number one, their first experience with what is in the package that they open. And I think like a beautiful, even if I think there's so much room in between the paper slip that it currently contains and this sort of dream book that you and I have just come up with that has like multiple pages of lore and every rarity in the game and the full rules and links to everything. There's somewhere in between is great just for getting people in.
So I want to give one more example, just kind of not to veer off too far. I recently did a review, and I think you got a copy of this game too. I don't know if you did the review yet, of a game called React: The Arts of War. And their rule book is really nice. It's very pretty and it's very like thematic and has like a character like they're teaching you how to play, and it's just very cute and very nice, and I really liked it. You can have something as simple as that. And I think it's very effective, and like Dan said, just helps people get immersed into it immediately. So anyway, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's exactly what you need to do, because when you get someone who picks up the product for the first time, people can get locked in psychologically into this game experience in a lot of different ways. And again, I encourage people to think outside of their own personal experience with things. We got a lot of competitive players who are like, I don't care, fluffy nonsense, whatever, just is the game good? Shout out to Steve-O again from our team, I believe was on that train of thought. But there are so many people who, if they get inside their starter deck, they get their like thing that's like, oh, here I get to read about Arasana's motivations, what she's into. That will immediately, even if they have a rough first experience with the game, they'll be like, yeah, but I really like Arasana. Like, I think she's really cool. And that gives them even if you want to think on a really like sort of fundamental block building level, if all that does is give some amount of players the willingness to try the game a second time, that grows your player base. Because then from that second time, someone go, oh, I just played wrong the first time. I get it. Like now I understand how this is cool, and they lock in from there. And I would love to see them from that affects both stage 2 and stage 3 of the sort of the 3-stage plan I laid out in getting people into the game and locking in. And I think you covered, just advertising, is something that they could work on as far as stage 1. But otherwise, there are a lot of things that they're doing well. And these are really just like, the game will grow more if they can figure out how to economically achieve these things too.
I mean, I think, I agree. I think the game is actually growing pretty well as it is. Just overall. I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, there's a couple small things that personally, me as someone who buys a lot of boxes, I have some small gripes just because like I want better pulls in my boxes. Like I think like the super rare pull rate could still be bumped up a little bit. Like, I don't know if folks out there who have bought a lot of like any of the sets, to be honest, and like you open it up and you get like five SRs or something like that. I'm like, I don't know. I feel it could be a little bit more, but especially because like the game's not cheap. Okay, like when a card becomes good, it becomes like $30, $50 good. Like, and you need 4 of them unless they're a material deck card. But yeah, recently Dan, we mentioned Dan's team, did very well. They did very well with Arisana. They did very well with Water Arisana. And I was like, I could probably build that deck. Let me see what I have. Look, I got one of the thing that looks like a penguin. I got one penguin, and then like one of the other card. I'm like, well, these are like $30 each now. I don't know if I'm gonna build this deck because I need 6 of them. I'm gonna build Kongming because she didn't do very well. So I'm gonna go buy my 3 visits because I only need 1, and I have all the rest of the build a win Kongming deck, which I think is still pretty fun, and like might not be the best deck, but still not a bad.
Razorgale is one of the best decks. Yeah, absolutely. No, that's still there are still options, but I was gonna say that like I opened my 4th case of Mortal Ambition the other day. And I'm not just like a wild spender. It was part of a nice Christmas bonus from the store that I work at. And I pulled my first Orb of Sealing. Finally, I'm ready to take down Slimes now. I finally pulled it after nobody ended up playing it against Slimes. But that is an example of the SR pull rate. They continue to tweak it every single set and try and figure it out. That's something that's a little tough too, though, because there are so many angles to attack that at. Like,
and I don't want people to misunderstand. I don't want cards to be dirt cheap. I don't think that feels good for anyone, because when you open up a nice card, it's cool when you open up an expensive card. Like, but at the same time, when you have to buy a bunch of them, it's not great when they're all like $40 or $50 or whatever. So I feel like there's a balance that you should strike between the booster boxes actually having value themselves, and like getting some of the value from just opening a box versus buying singles. Generally, it's better to buy singles, but man, it always feels really bad when you spend like $200 and you bought like 6 cards.
Yeah. There are a lot of factors that'll go into that SR rate. Like from raw drop rates and quantity of SRs in the set, but also like one thing that could really make it feel
part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's part of it. But one thing that can make it feel better too is if just across the board the SRs are closer to the same level of power and a decent level of power.
I agree.
But I will say that like from Polar Depths Penguin, as we like to call it, from its rise here, there were so many people who thought that was just I've talked to who said they thought it was just a chaff. SR that was, didn't matter.
That's one of the things about Grand Archive being a more competitively focused game, where you have a card that becomes, or people realize it's good, and then the price just shoots up because they're like, oh crap, this card's good. Now it's expensive, not because it was hard to get, but because it is good. So I mean, sometimes because it is both good and hard to get, but
I do, but it does make me wonder sometimes, like what are we missing, about some of the other SRs? Because there certainly could still be hidden gems in there.
Maybe a horse deck will be good someday, and all those horse cards will be worth a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, Dilu and Jueying are both very, very powerful units. Just need to, and both of them are not designed where they're going to be too parasitic. So, I mean, honestly, straight up, if Dilu and Jueying if you find them for a good price and you don't have them yet, those are ones to sit on, because at the point where your deck can become largely unique human allies of the correct element, they're crazy consistent and really strong.
I mean, I don't want to do speculation too much, but I would be very surprised if the whole horse archetype did not get support in Abyssal Heaven. That's the other thing. I'd be very surprised.
No, 100%. Like both Jin and Kongming, neither of them are performing super well outside of Kongming and Razorgale.
Right.
Jin has some fire decks that are like, they're like they're tier 2 unless you're Jimmy Lee, and then they're tier 1.5, and that's just like the Jimmy Lee factor.
Shout out to Jimmy Lee with his spicy decks. He always rocks up with some crazy awesome spicy deck.
I love Jimmy Lee. Anytime
I'm doing casting and it's his game, it's always going to be sweet, whether it's like you know, his like, what was it, was what are they called in it's been 2 months since I did Grand Archive content. I was going to call them golems, and then I was going to call them enchantments. They're he did like all the obelisk thing, and yep. Automatons, he did the automaton and assemble the ancients combo with Tenoris Genesis, not Genesis Aegis, Creation's Will. Yes.
Create the sword that attacks for 40 damage, or create an army of giant automatons. Either way. Jimmy Lee, what a treat. I don't think I've gotten to cast a Jimmy Lee game yet, and so I'm a little jealous because they are absolutely always like that. Happened at Santa Clara too. You cannot predict what's going to happen because when he gets into his deck, he is on another level with it, which is why I say, if you're a Jin player and you're not Jimmy Lee currently, I'm sorry, you're playing a tier 2 deck. But if you're playing Jimmy Lee, I'll give you, it's a tier 1.5. It does move up a whole at least 0.5 on there. But both of those characters in Abyssal Heaven and then in Mortal Ambition Ultra Edition later this year will have the potential to see suddenly, like, and let's not forget Proxia's Vault, because that alone took Arasana from a not even tier 2. Arasana was tier 4 or something. Maybe if I had to give her a number.
Bro, she was like F tier, garbage tier, meme tier.
Was rough.
Yeah.
And Polaris is like, that's a tier 1 character.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
It's there are multiple Arasana builds, and they are part of the metagame now, and you will see them at Ascent. So there's so much potential for these characters to move up, and for these SRs to suddenly go, oh wait, no, actually, like I like to think about Kongming has Planar Abyss and Channel Manifold. Destiny.
Dude,
or something.
Planar Abyss is such a cool card.
They're really cool cards. They work really well together, but Channel is just not like quite consistent enough to do the really cool meme things with it. It's like throw Advent of the Stormcaller into your Kongming decks. So you can like preserve it to Channel to get a +15 in power or something. like that's meme stuff. It's not like good, but it's really funny. But that's an example of an area where they print the right cards that are like, it's a 15 cost, but here are all the ways it's reduced, so it's playable at lower levels of Kongming or something. And suddenly it's like, oh, wait a second, now she's chucking like 18 damage fireballs or 19 damage fireballs or whatever, without having to stretch and do weird stuff. And maybe suddenly the deck becomes playable, and now your channels are like, oh, did you pick them up because they're more valuable now and stuff like that. So I mean, I'm just saying it's a complicated thing, and I'm always watching, curious each set to see how they continue to tweak the drop rates for things, because they got to balance that the availability of getting into the game, lowering the bar, but also LGSs need those boxes to have hits and value and everything.
I agreed. I think, I don't know, maybe the solution is like kind of similar to what you said, but maybe two things at once. Like maybe making sure the power level is more equal among all the SRs, or maybe just having less SRs in general. Maybe bumping some of those SRs down to rare, or whatever, shifting the numbers around. Because it does still feel really hard to get play sets. Because I bought 2 cases. Yeah, about 2 cases.
It's hard to get play sets.
I opened up 12 boxes. And it was like, yeah, dude, like I said, I have one prinny. No one knows what a prinny here is, but it's a penguin. It's a little blue penguin. I got one. Sure. It's from this guy.
I know.
RPG. I know. Yeah. Well, for the viewers out there, it's a little demon, but it's a penguin. Anyway, and so I got like one, and because I was like, oh yeah, I bought 12 boxes. I should have a couple at least to go look at my pile. I'm like, well, damn. Oh, that doesn't work.
Actually, I ironically, after our entire team brought Water Arasana, I have now opened, like I said, 4 cases of Mortal Ambition. I still actually only own 2 stratagem of Myriad Ice.
Oh yeah.
I think maybe I have 3 now, but I do not have a playset yet. I'm still reliant on another local who has a bunch who I'm borrowing from. I needed to buy a couple, so my playset's done at this point. But like 4 cases, and I still don't have the playset of that. So it certainly is. It is rough out there for the case buyers trying to make playsets.
And then sometimes you can just get, you know, unlucky and open up like 7 or 8 dongs. Dan, I'm there with you, man. I opened up 12 boxes. I think I opened up 6. I think like literally 50% of my boxes had the dong. They're literally sitting right over there, like in a pile. And then of that, I think I also opened up 3 of the wind spear. Like I opened up like out of all the options, like a couple different ones, and they were like not what you'd want to get multiples of. Let me put it that way. Like multiple material deck cards and then a bunch of dongs, and I'm just like, great. This is great. Cool. Anyone? I was able to sell my spears or trade them for other stuff, but I was just like I don't need 4 spears. Like, man. Yeah.
In that 4th case, I got 1 more dong. Only 1 more. I was like happy. I was like, okay, good, because I did not need 8 or not more than 8 of them. But I opened 4 Mortal Ambition ultra rare in the 6 boxes as well.
I don't think I opened up any. Maybe I did. Maybe it was not very many.
I've got some for you, Kel, if you need some. That at least is a playable card, but it's not. It would have been better if it was the 3 visits instead.
I need another 3 visits. I opened up 2. I need to, or rather, did I trade for 1? I have 2 basically now.
Yeah.
I need to get at least 1 more, because I think the Kong Ming deck that I want to build either runs 3 or 4, so I need to get at least 1 more. Yep. But that's not that bad. I think I have all the other cards. The cool thing about that Kong Ming deck is there's not a lot of like SRs in it. If I don't remember,
Razor Gale's really affordable. 3 visits is the big thing.
And did they run any of the green waifus? If they do, I think I have full playsets of them, even if they does run it.
It's a very, very spell-oriented deck. The only allies it tends to run are Ardent Cloud Striker makes its way into some of those, so you just have to have bought a Kong Ming starter deck, because that is just a starter deck exclusive card, and you get a full playset in the deck.
I'll have to unsleeve my starter deck. That, once again, as you mentioned earlier, I do keep starter decks like sleeved up, and you know.
Yeah. Yep, and then some of them are running like Ascent Protectors and some things.
Oh, sure.
Potentially bounce with it a little bit, but that's all like tiny units that, whatever. You can easily, they're not expensive. So,
I think it's just funny that both Kong Ming and Arasana are like very playable now, and I'm like, yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I know a lot of folks out there want Jin to be really good. Jin had the most hype in the Rogues Gallery Discord between Jin and Kong Ming. I thought it would be Kong Ming, but no, a lot of people love Jin. They want him to be real good. So, and I know a lot of people in the Discord tried to make him good. So maybe he'll get better with the next set and whatnot.
Well, I mean, that's just, again, we're talking about 2025. What I'm looking forward to.
Yes.
What I'm looking forward to, I think the most, is to continue to see how Weaves the Shore surprises me, because things like Polaris were a huge surprise. Especially, like, I still underestimated its impact. Taylor and I talked about this in the last podcast, but we underestimated Polaris's impact. We said, we were on record saying Arasana is now probably locals playable, but not going to top cut anything. And then we did that, and then the Astra deck also popped up and became really huge. So one thing they've been, again, very consistent about is, if a character is underperforming, just hang on, just hold tight. We've seen every underperforming character make it somewhere. The first one that saw it was Xander. And Xander, Luxem Spring was kind of what we had last year. That was suddenly Luxem was the big boogeyman deck, and it was really, really strong for a while. But just in general, then Fire Aggro Xander became a staple of the metagame that you're going to see. So Xander really got a good moment to shine, and has even been peaking in a few interesting, like the water decks that go to 3 with him sometimes, or they do the Tristan variant.
Yeah, I've even seen some like ally ones too. Yeah.
Yep. So that was really good. And then Sylvie Recollection deck obviously Sylvie maybe became kind of playable after that.
I think Sylvie is like the big one, because before that she was like, I don't want to say she was terrible, but let's just say that Sylvie was not good, right? Sylvie was the least of the first set champions, and I think with the slime starter deck, I think it was a big turnaround. And not only did she become playable, and there's some notable counts of people like bringing the slime starter with like just dungeon guides in it and doing very well at either local events, or I think someone did really well at a 100-player event, a pretty good sized event. Yeah. And to being like a character that a lot of people really like she's like a fan favorite character. And then me, obviously I love Tristan, and Tristan saw some play here and there, right? Like the wind, the wind Tristan.
Yep.
Yeah. Definitely saw play.
Tristan allies is a huge thing now. That if you're gonna play against water or wind allies, there's a chance you're gonna see a Tristan build instead, which gets to run incapacitates and kind of ruin your ability to ruin their fun. So that's Tristan has definitely glowed up from her level 2. That was pretty awkward and not very good.
I mean, her level 2 is literally just used in like fire aggro decks as like, you kind of sometimes do it, but most of the times you don't, kind of thing. Yeah. And
most of that was because Xander level 2 was very bad.
Oh yeah, Xander 2 was like
the Proxy's Vault version.
Yeah, Proxy's Vault version very good. Yeah.
Yes, very very good. Very like I keep forgetting how good it is until someone uses it against me, and I'm like, oh yeah, like you get the prep counters and the free card. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
They've been really good, really consistent about that, and now we've seen Arasana get exactly what she needed in Polaris to become a very playable, surprisingly controlling champion now in the game. So I have no doubt in 2025, if Jin and Kongming aren't playable by the end of the year, I would be surprised.
I think Kongming's still pretty good. Like Kongming's
I mean, I guess I'm saying the level 3 version of Kongming, not just the Razor Gale,
like the Terra element stuff. I gotcha. Yeah. I mean, I do want to see like Planar Abyss and that kind of stuff kind of pop off. That'd be sick. I do really like all of the cool Terra stuff. Which is like one of the reasons why I haven't immediately jumped to build a Kongming deck, because I'm still just like, man, I just want to play the cool Terra stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's not going to be as good. Like, yeah. Such is a lot of the ways for some Grand Archive stuff that I really like. I still play Umbra Tristan, even though Umbra Tristan's not as good as you just do the Wind ally stuff.
No, it's just a metagame dependent thing though. Umbra Tristan is my favorite deck. I think the biggest problem with Umbra Tristan is just that it is very funneled in on Shadow Strike as like the clear winner of all the options. The go wide stuff is good too. But like things like Final Stroke, unfortunately, just like so cool. Your spoiler card.
It costs too much. It costs too much. It costs 4. Yeah.
Didn't quite land.
I think if it costed less, it would be a lot more playable. Like, because like the thing is, like you said, Shadow Strike does the same thing but better, and it only costs 2 to play.
If Final Stroke banished instead of destroyed the champion, it would actually be a play against Jin, which would be really interesting. But unfortunately, it destroys and doesn't banish, so his immortality just says, "I don't care," and then nothing happens.
Yeah, but I do have a Final Stroke canvas over here.
I love that you got that.
Art by Panakis. It's actually really interesting because I don't remember if I think I told you at Worlds I bid on 3. So for folks who don't know, there was like an art gallery at Worlds that had a bunch of canvas prints of a lot of the art from Grand Archive, a lot of the newer stuff, but they had a kind of a smattering of things. And they had a whole section that was like, they colored it. So there's like a blue section, a green section. The purple section had a lot of Tristan stuff. And I bid on 3 Tristan things. It was a silent auction. And I bid not super high, but a little bit. A couple $100 on some of them, and I ended up winning the Final Stroke one, which is like
cool.
Providence. It was great.
I made a mistake. I should have bid on something. I should have tried to get Naya or something. I love Naya, so maybe this year I'll try if I do it again.
Naya is like one of my aesthetically like one of my favorite characters. She's awesome.
Me too.
But anyway, Worlds as well. I'm looking forward to Worlds this year. Worlds was fantastic last year, and there's not much else to say about that for me. I'm just like looking forward to it. I think they did a fantastic job last year, and I know that they want to do even better. So I'm very curious to see what they have in their hat this year. They literally last year they bought the biggest Slime King print that they could possibly get, and it was huge. It was, I don't know how many feet tall it was. I was gonna say 20, but it's bigger than 20 feet tall. It was huge.
It was gigantic. Yeah.
So
you know, like just talking about like Worlds last year, you know, you mentioned the art gallery. The Slime King went alongside with the world premiere of Mercurial Heart, the game where everybody was like opening cards and they were revealing the full set list as people went and
from the Recollection decks. Yeah.
From the Recollection decks, and then from the packs people were opening inside the Recollection decks, right? Allowed us to fill out the full set as well.
Yeah.
So that whole thing was exciting. Plus there was a bar there, which I mean it was a really fun time. I keep telling people I was a drunken brawler. I was kind of a savant as I was playing with the Sylvia Recollection deck. Well, somewhat tipsy for the first few rounds from my whiskey.
How many?
I was winning.
Was it 3 or 4 rounds?
It was 4 rounds.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Won the first 3 tipsy, and then the 4th one I was kind of sober and I lost. So I'm like, well, clearly.
I think I went 3-1 as well. I think. Yeah. But yeah,
so
it's cool.
like all that, and then the Ascent Worlds Teams event, which they're repeating again this year. We already know that's happening. Which this year that Teams is going to be crazy. I don't even know how you settle on decks with the amount the game has changed since then. Now,
I actually love. I don't want to talk too much more because we're already like almost like an hour and a half in. But Worlds, the team thing, I think is super cool. I love it when other card games do it. Vanguard does it as well, and I love the way the Vanguard does it. You cannot double up on decks, so everyone has to play a different deck. And I think it's the same for Grand Archive, right? You can't. They have some rules where you can't play like the same thing. And I think it's super cool. I think it's really interesting, and I think it makes like deck building really like fun and like I don't know. I really dig that kind of stuff. So I'm glad that they're bringing it back.
It's going to be very exciting. So yeah, in general, like I'm curious to see what else they add to it. But like Worlds, you said it was your second favorite event of last year.
Yes, I think we said that before that we started chatting. But
okay.
Yes,
well, I've added it now.
Yeah, Worlds. My favorite event that I attended last year was the Gundam card game world premiere event, and that one was just insane. Like I don't know how you match that. They held it at the NASA Space Center in Houston, and this Bandai, they put a lot of money into it. We got a cool like metallic ammo case briefcase that had all this stuff in it, and a jacket and all this cool stuff. They kind of went above and beyond, but they did because it was like an invite only thing, so they could make the things very special. And so yeah, that was great, and it was very impressive. But in terms of like non-world premiere, like invite only things that I attended, Grand Archive Worlds is my favorite. I think
it was definitely.
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic job. It was just kind of a really fun experience. Yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed it. I went to several other events for other card games. Some of them weren't the same kind of thing. So I did casting at Shadowverse Evolve Worlds in Akihabara, as I mentioned. But that's a different thing, right? That's not a convention type thing. That's you won the right to compete in this tournament, and it's literally just the tournament. That's it. There's no artists. It's just you play in the tournament. That's it. You're also in Tokyo, which is cool. But in terms of like actual like events and stuff, yeah, Grand Archive Worlds was fantastic.
Well, they just they just do a great job of making these destination events that you even if you don't do well, you generally have a great experience because of everything surrounding it. And if anyone asks like what does GA do differently, I mean it's a focus on that. I think in every event that really makes it feel like I just come back for those events re-energized every time. Like this game is my favorite across the board for all of those reasons.
One small thing, but this it's not actually a small thing when I think about it, is I love that every Grand Archive event that I've been to, it might not be true for every Ascent. I've not been to every Ascent, but I love the ones that I've been to. They booked the hotel in the same venue as the tournament. And I really appreciate that, because it is so great to not have to be like, all right, take the Uber to the tournament that's like 10-15 minutes away. For the Ascents, for like nationals, it was a little different, but I'm talking like Ascent Worlds was in the same hotel, Houston was in the same hotel, and it was good.
That's commonly the case for a lot of them. Not every Ascent has offered a block hotel though, so like Utrecht was really actually a little complicated to book, but mostly due to like cultural differences in how hotels work between Europe and the US, and I had to figure that out. I was the group mom, so I navigated booking everything for everybody, and got my really sweet miles on my card for that, which is going to help me travel to stuff this year.
And I imagine Akihabara is going to not be like that too, because I don't. Yeah. It's just not how it works in Japan. From what I've seen, I don't think venue hotel things are very common, and if they are, they're probably very expensive. But there's a lot of different hotels in Akihabara, and Japan is a very, very walkable, especially Tokyo is a very, very walkable like country. So like if you just get a hotel in Akihabara, it's going to be super easy to walk there, no matter where it is. I don't know if they've said the exact venue, but if it's in the venue that I think it's going to be in, it's pretty easy to get to.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that. And if I could just give any advice to anybody out there who's like maybe just listening into this video but isn't in the game, but like have thought about it because of Kel's excitement and content or whatever, if you do decide to give it a try, your best bet is if you can find an Ascent near you and go to it, and they run demos and stuff there, and just soak in the atmosphere. And I feel like it'd be hard to come out of that and not love what Weebs the Shore is putting into this. Again, like you mentioned earlier, clearly passionate project of theirs.
I mean, yeah. On top of that, go to any of the conventions that they're at too. Like if you are like, I want to go to Anime Expo, I want to go to. Did they say they're going to be at Gen Con? If you're going to be,
that's complicated. They said they were going to at Santa Clara's closing ceremony, but it wasn't on their convention schedule, which is why I'm like hoping that means it's because it's an Ascent or something. But I don't know. It could have just like gotten canceled or something. Well, I have no clue.
Well, in the case, like for Anime Expo, at least, like if you're if you're an anime, haven't played Grand Archive yet, you're like, oh, should I play it or not? If you're gonna go to AX anyway, just go stop by the GA booth. They have like free demos. I think the demos that they were having last year in 2024, I can't remember how much, if it was paid or if it was free, but you got like a deck for playing. Like you got like a starter deck. And like that's one of the reasons they sold out so quickly. They just didn't have any more decks to give to people. And so like if you're there, just go check it out. There's a very high chance that Dan and I know or have talked to the people running the event. Most of the time, a lot of the devs are there. At least at the big events that I've been to, like AX, like Alan or Aldius was there. Some of the artists were there. Gul was there because Gul had his own booth at AX, but afterwards he would come and hang out. Similar to me, when I was done with my thing, I came and went to hang out with the Grand Archive folks. And so, yeah, just go. If you're at an event, just go and
just go. Just try it.
And they have they have like free starters and stuff too, like the little I can't remember what they're called, the little trial decks or whatever.
Yeah.
In fact, I saw that they had like boxes of those, and I was like, talked to Roger, and I was like, "Hey, I haven't actually checked out the new ones yet. Can I have some?" And Roger was like, "Here, take some." He just gave me like a handful of them. I'm not sure where they are, but I just thought of something. Anyway, I was like, those would be good. Those would be fun, like giveaway things. Anyway,
sure. Definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's essentially it. there's like, I have some like small like personal things that I'm looking forward to in regards to Grand Archive this year. Dan and I were talking before we started, or maybe after, I don't know, it's all blended together, but I want to just do more Grand Archive content in general. It is one of my main games, one of my favorite games, and I want to do at least a couple videos a month, and I kind of like fell off a little bit near the end of last year, just because, you know, holidays are busy, got involved with other things. Combination of that, I did my my Mortal Ambition stuff, but I didn't get enough cards from the boxes that I opened to build the decks, and I was like, okay, I need to buy singles, and then I just never did. So now I'm at the point where I was like, oh, looking to build other decks and seeing which ones I'm going to build. Probably not going to be the water deck right now, because I think I need Icebound Slam 2, and I think I only got like 2 of those or something. I did not get lucky with my water pulls last year, but I'm also going to be doing what I normally do for new Grand Archive sets in 2025, and that is every time a new set comes out and there are starter decks, I've been hosting starter deck events in the Rogues Gallery Discord, and we've done it for every single set so far, starting with Dawn of Ashes all the way up to Mortal Ambition. We haven't done it with the Recollection decks yet. I'm trying to think if we want to do something like that. Recollection decks are a little more expensive, and I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna gauge interest in the community and see. But I'm definitely gonna be doing them for more starter decks once they do that. Presumably the set after Abyssal Heaven. Yeah, the Grand Archive has been very, like, the Weebs of the Shore team has been very, very awesome in giving me like official prize support for these events. They literally just send me an event kit, and then everyone gets free. It's participation pricing. I don't care. Literally, people ask me like, "Oh, where do we report our wins?" And I'm like, "You don't. I don't care." Like, I actually don't care if you win or if you lose. The whole point is to learn how to play, or to learn the new decks, or just to play Grand Archive in a really welcoming environment where there's no pressure, there's no incentive to shark the event or to spike it. You're just there to have fun and to help people learn, and that's the whole vibe. Everyone gets packs. This time we had some people back out, so we only had like 20 or so people show up, and I have a 40 player limit, so everyone got double prize packs this time.
Nice.
So everyone got basically any of the extras I get, I give them out. So in some ways, the less people who show up, the more prizes that people get.
Better. Yeah. Jump in.
Yeah. So I have like a 40 player limit because I run these events by myself, and I'm like, I can handle 40 people, but I don't want to do much more than that. So anyway, long story short, I'm doing that again this year, and that's something that I'm personally looking forward to, and it's been a great thing in the Discord community, and everyone's had a great time, and we're actually using that as a jumping off point to start just something that we're calling Webcam Locals that are just game agnostic. Grand Archive is gonna be part of it, but just gonna be an environment for people to play games. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that for GA this year. Still thinking about it for the Recollection decks though. I'm not sure yet. But,
and just on that note too, for people looking for other outlets, maybe after you try the starter deck stuff with Kel and you want to get some more webcam games, and on the main deck Discord, we run leagues. In the last year, we tried running one league every set release, which worked pretty well for keeping up with things. But I actually have a little more support in running those leagues now, and we're doing it. There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes with the main deck and the crew and everything we're trying to figure out. So we're working on sourcing certain items for prizes and everything. But I just lose money on every single league that I do because I make playmats and I get prizes and I ship everything out and I charge nothing for every league. So I'm insane. I'm absolutely stupid. But
yeah, I actually charge for the, well, if I have prizes to send, I do charge for the starter deck events. It's usually about $20, and but
that's called being a businessman. Well, it's also being an idiot. It's
also called helping to pay for all this. Yeah, pay for all the shipping. If I commission special art, sometimes I do art commissions, and then I make tokens. And that helps pay for the manufacturing and the art and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And I also usually include like playmats and that kind of stuff.
Right. So yeah.
Go do Dan's event. You can get free stuff.
Make me lose money. No, what's actually going on here is that I have support from our LGS from J-Dub Sports Cards and Gaming. So so that really helps me handle a lot of things. That's kind of how we get our original art for playmats and stuff every year too. So it's I'm just able to offer it for free because I just kind of takes Patreon money and that support, and I use that to kind of fund these ongoing leagues. So really, it's a bunch of people paying for it on Patreon, paying for you to come join and play some leagues. So if you do enjoy that, feel free to jump in. We might be doing them more frequently this year as well, because a lot of people do want that. I'm not locked in or guaranteed on anything, but that's something that we're pushing at least for Grand Archive. Like I said, it's going to become even more of a focus than it was previously for us this year, and for me in particular. So that might be one of the ways that manifests.
Very cool. And yeah, if you're listening to this, don't feel bad about joining one or the other. The Rogues Gallery stuff is very casual and definitely not a league. If you want something more structured, league type experience, definitely go check out what they're doing over at Main Deck.
Join both.
Yeah, do both. The Discord community for the Rogues Gallery is super chill. We talk about a lot of card games. Everyone is welcome here. There's chat channels for, we just call it weeb stuff, if you want to post about anime or whatever. But we also have one for figure collecting, gunpla, minis, models, all that stuff. Just a lot of nerdy things. And there's some folks in here who only talk about Warhammer, or some folks who, we have a pretty active Grand Archive community, actually. It's actually one of the more active groups in the Discord. So yeah, join them. You can play some Grand Archive. If you don't have a LGS near you that supports the game, I think doing webcam play is a really good way to help engage. Especially since, in my experience, the community for Grand Archive for the most part is very, very, very like cool and very like pretty chill. A couple of times I've played in the community Discord or in the Rogues Gallery Discord, we had like 3 people who wanted to play, and I was just like, you guys just want to play multiplayer? And we're like, yeah, sure. And we just played a multiplayer game. We're just like, yeah, let's just do it. So actually made my crappy, well, this is old crappy Arisana before she got cool. But I had a control Astra deck that was just like, counter spells, and I try to do the thing. It's just so slow, you die in normal game. But in multiplayer, if people ignore you, you can kill them. Because turns out Cosmic Bolt, even if you don't get a bunch of free ones, is still pretty good. Yeah. So I tell you,
the card sure feels better when you have 12 in your deck, though.
I haven't actually played with it yet. Like I literally still have my old build before that card came out. That was like, like I said, not great. Against any constructed deck, you just die before you can do anything. But yeah.
Well, Cal, let me put one more thing out there. I know we got to end this, but let me put one more thing out there that I want from Grand Archive in 2025, and that's not something Weebs can help with. But you and I should do some more gameplay. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, I'm down.
That's what I think. And I'll show you some now that I'm competing with Cam for being an Arisana simp. I will show you some Arisana brews. We'll have a good time.
Ooh, okay. And maybe I'll put together this Kong Ming deck too that I've been thinking about putting together. Or maybe we can just do something jank. You know what would be? This is a lot of work. I don't know if I want to suggest this because it's a lot of work. But something that could be fun is something that I've thought about for other games as well and other content creators. I never really panned out, but I think it could be cool. Is we do like a gameplay match, but before we do the actual gameplay match, we record something maybe like a couple weeks in advance of us coming on camera, and we got a big wheel, and it's got all the champions' names on it.
I'm in. I'm already in.
And a second wheel with all of the elements, and you got to roll both wheels, and you have to play those champions and elements. And when I say champions, you got to get to level 3. You can't like just be like I go to level 1. That's copping out.
Yeah.
That I think that could be really fun because I think it could make it so that it's not just like, oh, here's the meta deck or whatever at the time. It's like you got. I mean, I was gonna say Tenoris, but Tenoris can be pretty good. But maybe you get like I don't know who's off meta. Diana. Maybe you get
Diana. That's the problem with the game, right? They keep making the characters playable. But yeah, Diana's a good choice.
Yeah. Maybe you get Diana. Maybe you get Jin. Maybe you need to, send a message to Jimmy Lee and be like, yo, bro, hit me up with your Jin tech.
Give me your best fire Diana deck.
And like, no joke, if I got Jin, I would literally message Jimmy and be like, hey, give me some spicy gin brew. I want to make gin.
I got a local who's getting into the game now. He's like, I want to play fire gin. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna grab Jimmy's list from the last Ascent because that's the only thing I know.
Oh man, I should look at that list. I want to make that. I want to make that deck too. Yeah.
He included one card like the day before I looked at the list, because I hadn't looked at it from Ascent. We were talking in the main deck competitive group, and I was like, you know what? I think the one thing that we just missed with Jin is that you have to run Incapacitate in it, even off.
Oh, interesting.
Because that's the only way for him to survive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
His kill turn through interaction. And then I looked at Jimmy Lee's list, and there's 3 Incaps main, and I'm like, there it is. The man figured it out. That was what was missing. Oh
yeah, I mean, like, the dude knows how to build some decks, and that's what happens when you actually build a decks and playtest, and you find out what the weaknesses are, and you're like, what do I need to not die when I'm trying to kill you? He found it. Yeah. I mean, I should look that list up and see.
Ooh, play that against my Arasana deck. That would be a fun match.
Ooh, what's your Arasana deck? Is it like the good one, or is it a?
For Astra, I have Wind and Fire, and they're both very good.
Ooh, Fire.
The Fire is very off meta. Like people are underestimating the Fire one, but I like it a lot.
I hear Fire has me intrigued.
Yeah. It's not doing the fun stuff that you might be thinking about. It is just an Astra deck, but it's using Fire tweak.
I like Astra stuff though. Like I really like the Astra element, which is why I try to build my like Astra deck. It's just, slow as hell and you die.
Some people think the Fire one is like I'm doing kindling stuff with the herbs. I'm trying to burn you out with herbs. No. It's Cosmic Bolts. It's still Cosmic Bolts, but there's just it's a small set of fire cards that I think have a pretty big impact. So I'll send you the list afterwards.
All I want to do is Star Calling for free off the top of my deck and shoot you in the face for like 10. That's all I want to do. And sometimes
that's all we want.
Sometimes it also hits all your things for like 4 damage, and you're also your face. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Or hits all your things for 7 with
for 7. Yeah.
Materia, if you can land it, is your combat falls are scary.
I'm very innocent. I just want to cast free spells from the top of my deck and shoot you in the face for like a bunch of damage.
It's really not too much to ask.
When it actually works, it feels great, and it's only ever worked for me like a couple times, and one of those times was in multiplayer where people just weren't attacking me, and I was just like, oh cool, now I can just kill you. Now I've assembled all my bullshit and I can win.
It actually works now, Kel, so don't worry. You can throw them together and you'll have a good time.
I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I have the cards for it. Probably
it's not too bad.
The good part about being off meta is probably the card. If I'm missing anything, it's probably pretty cheap.
The big thing you have to look out for is Horticounter now in ALC Altar.
Yes, I did recently see that card. I don't know if
That's an SR, Kel.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna buy any Altar. Maybe. We'll see. It'd be fun to open it up in a video. Maybe I'll buy some.
Yeah.
But well, thank you for coming on and chatting for almost 2 hours. I didn't plan for it to be 2 hours. I was like, it's probably gonna be like 40 minutes, and it'll be good. 40 minutes is a decent amount.
People know when they see me in the thumbnail now. They're like, okay, well, this is gonna be a long one.
Hey,
you and I together.
People liked the altered one, so hopefully people like this one. If you did, dear listener and or viewer, depending on how you're consuming this, I know a lot of people just kind of like listen to stuff in another tab. But if you did, hey, tab back in. Maybe hit the little thumbs up, and maybe hit the little subscribe button, because I know a lot of people who watch the videos aren't subscribed because YouTube tells me that. And
put the picture on the screen, Kel, like all the YouTubers do. Put the picture on.
Let's see if I'm like lazy enough to not do it. Probably not. Probably no picture. But either way, yeah. And then also, while you're at it, go into the description, and there's a link to Dan's channel, Main Deck, who also, as you could tell by this video, very much likes Grand Archive. So if you want to hear more about Grand Archive, including
kind of coy about it.
including a very good how to play video. I think not to gas my guest Dan too much. I think it's actually the best how to play video for Grand Archive on the internet. So if you want to go watch that, you should go watch that. So yeah, go do it. Unless you already know how to play, which is fine, you know.
I'll take more views, honestly. Just toss it out again anyway.
I think that I would guess, I don't know, but I would guess it's probably one of the most viewed GA videos out there. I would guess it's up there. Maybe not their trailer. Maybe it doesn't have as much as like their official trailer, but I would wager it's among the top 5, maybe in top 3, if not the number 1.
Yeah, the quick start was the one that previously was. Yeah, that's at 88,000.
I was gonna guess 100.
And my ultimate how to play is at 59,000. So yeah, so we're
all right.
We're behind the.
All right, everyone, need to go pile into that channel or pile into that video. Get it up.
Oh.
You can pump those numbers up.
You can see me with my old studio layout when I had a Sorin of the really cool vampire art from Crimson Vow. I had like a scroll of that in the background and a Dracula book up here because I'm a gothic horror fan like Kel is.
Oh yeah, I do. Actually, Robin and I recently went and saw Nosferatu. It was very good.
I haven't gotten to see that yet.
It was very good.
I've heard great things though.
It is very much a horror movie. People are going in thinking it's going to be like a fun old time. Nope, it's a artsy horror movie. You can tell the people really enjoyed like setting up like very artsy shots and composition and stuff. It's good. I recommend it. But yeah.
I will check it out.
Anyway, go check out Dan's stuff. He does a lot about Grand Archive. They have a Grand Archive podcast over there, and Dan and I both expressed that we want to do more Grand Archive content in 2025. So if that's what you'd like to see more of, that's awesome. And you know what? If you're still here, which you're probably not, no one is here. But if you are here, let us know in the comments down below what you would like to see from Grand Archive in 2025, what you would personally like to see. Genuinely curious to know. So let us know. We'll know if you're a real one and you watched all like 2 hours of this, which you probably didn't. But if you did, hey, that'd be cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, we're gonna leave it at that. Dan, any final things before I hit stop recording?
I think I'll just start another tangent for a half an hour before you do. No, we're good. We're good here. Looking forward to seeing you guys at all the events throughout the year, Ascents, Nationals, Regionals, everything. Hope to see you guys. Keep having fun playing Grand Archive because I sure am. And yeah, have a great one.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.
Bye.